Krishnam Narayanam Vande Krishnam Vande Prajapriyam Krishnam Vaipayanam Vande Krishnam Vande Vritasutam Satchidananda Rupaya Vishwotpatyadi Hetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Yaswanubhavam Akilashtu Visaramekam Jnanadeepam Atitirshatam Tamontam Samsarinam Karunayah Purana Mukhyam Tam Vyasasurum Upayami Gurum Tala Vyala Mukha Grasa Trasa Nirnasa Hetave Srimad Bhagavatam Shastram Kalau Kirena Bhashitam Etasman Aparam Kinchin Manashuddhaina Vidyate Janmantare Bhavet Punyam Tatha Bhagavatam Labhete Menire Bhagavat Rupam Shastram Bhagavatam Kalau Shavanat Patanat Satyaha Vaikuntha Paladayakam Nigama Kalpatoror Gavitam Palam Shukamukat Amata Drava Samyutam Vibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuravo Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Srimad Bhagavatam is a Rasa Shastra. It is often described as the ripened fruit of the desired tree of the Vedic wisdom. This ripened fruit of Srimad Bhagavatam becomes even more sweet when it is offered to us after it is tasted by the nectarine lips of Shuka Brahma. While the whole text of Bhagavatam is a Rasa Shastra, Dashama Skanda of Srimad Bhagavatam is the very essence of this Rasa Shastra. Dashama Skanda is almost 30% of the entire text of Bhagavatam. Of the 18,000 verses, approximately 30% is devoted to Sri Krishna Cheshtitas. If the Dashama Skanda is the very essence of this Rasa Shastra, the Rasa Panchadhyayi, 5 chapters hidden within the Dashama Skanda is the Rasa of the Rasa, the very essence of the essence of Bhagavatam. Raso Vaisaha Rasakgubhyevayam Labdhva Anandi Bhavati, declares the Upanishads. For Sri Krishna, this entire universe is a Rasa Krida. The very purpose of Krishna Avatara is to perform the divine play, the divine rasa. Angana, Mangana, Mantaro, Madhavo, Madhavam, Madhavam, Chantare, Nangana. Ittama kalpite, Ittama kalpate, Mandale Madhyaha, Sanjagau Veduna, Devaki Nandana. The Rasa Krida captures the very essence of the purpose of life and living. If the world is meant for Krishna's Rasa Krida, all of us are meant to dance in tune to Krishna's Venu Gita. We are all dancers. Our life is nothing but a dance. But whether this dance transforms into abundance depends on to which tune are we dancing. The Shastras declare Raso Vaisaha. Bhagavan is the very embodiment of rasa. Rasagubhevayam labdhva anandi bhavati. Only after attaining Bhagavan, only with him can we enjoy the bliss, unending bliss. So therefore, the very purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam is to impart this nectarine rasa to all of us and highlight the significance of rasa and significance of how connecting with Krishna we stay immersed in rasanubhava. If Bhagavatam is the Rasa Shastra and if Rasa Krida is the very highlight, the crown jewel of Bhagavatam, why do we need to wait until the Dashama Skanda to relish the supreme bliss? Vedavyasa spends 9 skandas before he starts narrating Krishna Cheshtitas. There should be a reason. But if we look at the structure of Srimad Bhagavatam, then we understand how Bhagavatam in its entirety is Rasa Shastra. As we dive deep into Bhagavatam, we are prepared. Right from the first shloka of Bhagavatam until we reach Rasa Panchadhyayi, we are all prepared for reaching that very summit of enjoying the rasa. Bhagavatam gives us 10 different facets of understanding Bhagavan's Leelas. Sargaha, Atra Sargascha, Visargascha, Sthanam, Poshanam, Udayaha, Manmantarani Ishanukataha, Nirodha, Muktir Ashrayaha. Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, Poshanam, Uti, Manmantara, Ishanukatha, Nirodha, Ashrayaha. These are the 10 important messages from Srimad Bhagavatam. Now we see how each of them eventually lead to the divine, to the nectarine crown jewel of Rasa Krida. Sarga, creation. Bhagavan creates, sets the stage only for the purposes of performing Rasa Krida. The entire creation exists so that Krishna can perform his Rasa Krida. Visarga, secondary creation. Secondary creation is where Bhagavan entrusts Brahma to start the process of creating the individual forms. Individual. While aggregate creation is carried out by Bhagavan himself, the individual creation is carried out by Brahma. So the process of Visarga, various forms are created, various names are created. Both Sarga and Visarga lead towards the divine union and communion with Sri Krishna. This Manusha Janma, this form for human beings is given, all the endowments that are given to us, this body, the senses, the mind, the intelligence, this very prana, are meant for only one purpose, to be used in the service of Krishna. And the Gopikas of Vraja teach how every material endowment can be spiritualized in service to Krishna. So therefore, both Sarga and Visarga lead the way to realize the supreme essence of Rasa Krila. The third topic of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sthanam. Bhagavan, Sthanam means positioning, creates various lokas. In Brahmanda, in the universe, we see several lokas are created for various classes of beings. And there is a gradation in these lokas. Depending on the nature of the living being, several lokas are granted for the beings to stay during the lifetime, during the time in samsara. But then if we see, we finally realize that ultimately within the Brahmanda, it is not Swarga, it is not even Satyaloka that is ultimately favored. Not just the Bhuloka, but a small tract of land called Vraja, which is the most favored piece of land for Bhagavan because it is populated by his dearest bhaktas, the Vrajavasis. Poshana, the fourth topic, protection of the devotees. Bhagavan nurtures. Whether we realize it or not, he is constantly protecting us. And his protection is nothing but preparing us. Through Poshana, Bhagavan takes the job of cleansing, purifying, preparing us so that we can understand the very purpose of life and living to emulate the Gopikas of Vraja. The Gopikas of Vraja are the benchmarks for us as to how, by purifying ourselves, we can offer everything that he has given us, all the resources, including the body, the mind and the intelligence, back to him, in service to him. Therefore, Poshana, protection of Bhagavan, is meant as a process of purification. Uti, inclination. All our inclinations, all our longings are meant to culminate in the longing for Krishna. And this longing has to eventually translate into belonging to him alone. Manvantara, Bhagavan establishes various Manvantaras and various Manus to rule. And in the process, through the Manus, he establishes Dharma. But the purpose of establishing Dharma is for us to climb the steps of Dharma and eventually ascend to the pinnacle of Dharma. The fulfillment of Dharma lies in discovering the very essence of Dharma, which is nothing but Krishna Prema. And through Rasa Leela, we discover what is the highest Dharma. Krishna is the highest Dharma and Krishna Prema is the supreme Dharma. The seventh topic of Srimad Bhagavatam, Ishanukata. Bhagavatam is filled with his story. That is why it is history. Bhagavatam is history because it is his story. And we see all his avatars beautifully captured and narrated across the Bhagavata. Ishanukata. Interestingly, we see Bhagavan takes several avatars for various reasons. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkrutam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna gives the reasons as to why he takes avatars. But there is one reason he hides. The real reason why he takes avatars. The reason why he takes avatars is in the process of taking avatars, Krishna is also getting ready. He is getting ready for his tryst with his supreme bhaktas, the Gopikas. Through every avatara, Just like how Bhagavan is preparing all of us, how Bhagavan is preparing the Gopikas, he too is preparing himself for that supreme Rasa Krida. So therefore all the avatars in a way are a play for Krishna to practice so that he can ultimately engage in the play of all plays, Rasa. Eighth topic, Nirodha, annihilation. The Bhagavatam talks about different kinds of Nirodha, different kinds of pralayas. But we must understand that destruction in a way is Bhagavan's Rakshakatva, his protection. He destroys to do course correction. He keeps destroying, he keeps dissolving what he created only for one purpose, to do course correction to those Baddha Jivas who have gotten off track, who have lost their track, who have lost their direction. And therefore, destruction is a necessary process so that he can bring back those who have lost their direction back on the track leading all the way to the divine play of Rasa. So therefore, even Nirodha leads the way, paves the way, just like how Sarga and Visarga do, even Nirodha leads the way to Rasa Leela. Mukti, to Rasa Krida, Krishna and the Gopikas teach a very important lesson. Bhakti is not only for transportation, Bhakti is also for transformation. We see how the Gopikas teach us a very important lesson. Bhakti is the means and Bhakti is the end. Bhakti is the means to Mukti, and the blissful state of Mukti is qualified by divine Bhakti. So therefore, the purpose of teaching Mukti in Bhagavatam is to once again highlight the supreme state of the Gopikas in Rasa Krida. The 10th topic, Ashraya. Ashraya means shelter. The whole of Bhagavatam has been written for only one purpose. All the 18,000 shlokas are meant to teach only one lesson. That one lesson is Krishna is our Ashraya. Krishna is the shelter of all shelters. But before we make a conclusion, Krishna says there is something more. Vyasa, Shuka, Suta, all in unison declare, Hey Krishna, you are our Ashraya. But Krishna says, hold on. There is one more lesson I need to add. Krishna says, my Gopikas are my Ashraya. When it comes to Rasa Krida, the Ashraya becomes the Ashrita. Role reversal happens. When all we Prapannas, Sharanagatas, we surrender to Krishna. But Krishna chooses to surrender to the Gopikas of Vraja. Bhagavatam therefore is a Rasa Shastra, and this journey, the next 7 days, as we dive into the gems of Bhagavatam and celebrate Bhagavata Saptaham, we will look at how every facet of Bhagavatam eventually leads the way, leading all of us towards that supreme union and communion of the Gopikas with Krishna. Every skanda, every sarga, every shloka, every cheshtita is all meant for only one purpose. For Krishna to prepare himself for Rasa Krida. For the Gopikas to prepare for their union with Krishna. And for all of us to be blissfully immersed in Krishna Anubhava, blissfully immersed in Rasa Anubhava. we have all assembled in a place which has a very significant history. This is the place where Suta Pouranika addressed Shaunaka and all the rishis. This is the very place where Srimad Bhagavatam was narrated. Shuka learned the Bhagavatam from Vyasa and he narrated it to Parikshit. And the narration that happened between Shuka and Parikshit was eventually recounted by Suta Pouranika right at this very place. All the sages led by Shaunaka gathered here in this Punya Kshetra Naimisharanyam, and Suta then recounted the entire Bhagavata and covered not just the Krishna Cheshtitas but all the 10 topics, and that is the reason why we begin our journey right here. All the sages had several questions to ask, and on behalf of all the rishis, Shaunaka puts forward Naimishe Sutamasinam Abhivadaya Mahityam Katamrita Rasavadaha Kushalaha Shaunako Bravi. In the forests of Naimisharanya, Shaunaka Rishi, who is an expert in tasting Krishna Katha, who is an expert in tasting the rasa of Krishna Rasa, started to put forward questions to Suta Pouranika. Shaunaka Uvacha Ajnana Dhvanta Vidhamsa Koti Surya Samaprabha Suta Kyahi Katasaram Mama Karna Rasayanam Bhakti Jnana Viragopto Viveko Vardhate Mahan Maya Moha Nirasascha Vaishnavaihi Kriyate Katham. The wonderful question that gets put forward by Shaunaka. Suta, hey Suta, this is a prayer, this is an invocation by all the rishis to the illustrious Suta. Hey Suta, Ajnana Dhvanta Vidvamsa Koti Surya Samaprabha. You are like thousands of suns put together that can dispel the darkness of samsara, the darkness of ignorance. We want to know from you, Bhakti, Jnana, Viragopto, Viveko, Vardhate Mahan. Viveka, discrimination, without Bhakti and Vairagya is of no use. Therefore, please recite to us, narrate to us that nectarine Krishna Katha which will give us the required Vairagya, which will help us to cultivate Vairagya, develop the power of discrimination, and that can kindle Bhakti in us, which can blossom and grow and ripen into the fruit of Krishna Prema, Krishna Krishna. And that is the only way we can dispel the darkness of ignorance in the samsara. And the result of this conversation is the Bhagavata Purana, which we celebrate as nothing but Krishna himself. Bhagavata is not different from Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And we all know when we chant the Dhyana Shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, we chant how Bhagavatam represents the Divyamangala Vigraha of Krishna. Padau Yadidau Prathamam Vidiyau Tritiya Turiyau Katitau Yaduru Nabhistata Panchame Eva Sashtaha Ujantaroddo Yugalam Tatanyau Kantasturajan Navamo Yadiyau Karavindam Dashama Prapullam Ekadashum Yasya Lalata Pattam Shiropidu Dwadasha Eva Bhati. Each facet, each anga of Bhagavan is likened to a skanda of Srimad Bhagavatam. The first and the second cantos of the Bhagavatam are Krishna's divine lotus feet. The third and fourth cantos of Bhagavatam are his thighs. The fifth canto is his nabhi. The sixth canto is his divine chest. The seventh and eighth cantos are his arms. The ninth canto is divine kanta. Karavindam Dashama Prapullam. The Dashama Skanda is the enchanting, electrifying Mukharavinda of Sri Krishna. No wonder it is so very beautiful. Ekadasho Yasya Lalata Pattam. The 11th canto is his forehead. Shiropitu dvadasha eva bhati. The 12th is his head. Tamadidevam karunanidanam tamalavarnam suhitavataram apara samsara samudra setum bhajamyaham Bhagavata Swarupa. If Bhagavata is Krishna's Swarupa, we looked at every anga of Krishna likened to a chapter of the Bhagavata. The Gopikas of Vraja are the prana of Krishna and therefore the prana of very Bhagavata. Suta, after listening to the questions that were posted to him by all the sages of Naimisharanyam, led by Shaunaka, then answers. He says, Preeti Shaunaka Chittete Hayato Vachmi Vicharya Cha Sarva Siddhanta Nishpannam Samsara Bhayanashanam. He says, I am going to now give you Sarva Siddhanta Nishpannam, the very essence of all the Siddhantas put together, the very essence of all our Shastras, which essentially teaches how to cross over samsara. The essence of crossing over samsara is not disappearance of obstacles. We may think the Shastras teach us how eventually we can wish away and all the obstacles can disappear. But the essence of samsara, crossing over samsara, is not the disappearance of obstacles, but persistence and perseverance amidst obstacles. Krishna never promises a stormless sea, but he promises a boat that will never sink. So therefore, Bhagavatam helps us to cross over the sea of samsara. Sarva Siddhanta Nishpannam Samsara Bhayanashanam. The fear of samsara will be completely driven away. Bhaktyoga Vardhanam Yacha. As we study, deep dive into Bhagavatam, Bhakti will blossom, sprout and grow. Krishna Santosha Hetukam. What is most important is not our pleasure in the study of Bhagavatam. What is important is as we study Bhagavatam, Krishna is pleased. The purpose of our very life is Krishna Mukhollasa. If we can bring a smile to Krishna's face, we have achieved the very purpose of our life. Atam Shastram Kalo Kireda Bhashitam. Srimad Bhagavatam in Kali Yuga absolutely destroys the fear of death. If we really peel the various layers of fears that we have, at the very root of all our fears is the fear of death. So whether we like it or not, death keeps knocking our doors. And just like how Parikshit had to face death in 7 days, each and everyone that has taken birth has to die in 7 days. I meant 7 days from Sunday to Monday, Sunday to next Sunday, 7 days in a week. Each and everyone has to face death in one of these 7 days. So Parikshit had to face death, and what did he do? Death was knocking his door. He was cursed. He was cursed to be killed, to be bitten by Takshaka. And luckily for him, Shuka Brahman was there, and therefore he surrendered to Shuka. And then Shuka taught him how death is not to be denied or dreaded. Death is not to be denied or dreaded. Death has to be faced as a glorious gateway, because death is not a destroyer of meaning, it is a restorer of meaning. And Bhagavatam teaches us how not to fear death, because death, after all, is a restorer of meaning. And this is what Shuka teaches Parikshit. And in turn, that teaching that Shuka imparted to Parikshit, Suta is giving to the rishis. The 10 skandhas of Bhagavatam, as we have seen, can be divided as relishing the various angas of Krishna. So today, here on this sacred land of Naimisharanya, we will relish the lotus feet of Krishna. the first two skandhas, the first two cantos. The first canto is all about the history of Parikshit and how he meets with Shukha and the history of Bhagavatam itself. And it is in this context we get to relish several gems, several stutis. We also get to relish in brief the Avatara Rahasya of Krishna, the various avatars. And in the second canto, then Shukha presents not only the divine pathway of bhakti, he also presents the various pathways that are available to humankind, including Ashtanga Yoga, including the Jnana Marga, including Karma Marga, and eventually he teaches the significance of Bhakti Yoga, and he concludes the second canto with the very essence of Bhagavatam celebrated as Chatushloki Bhagavatam. So let's look at how the Bhagavatam begins. The Bhagavatam, the very beginning of Bhagavatam conveys the very end. The very beginning of Bhagavatam conveys the very end. When we talk about end, in our quest for happiness, in our quest for joy, we all need an end. Now this word end can be understood in two different ways. End can mean the end, the conclusion. End can also mean the purpose. End the conclusion, end the purpose. Life becomes beautiful when these two ends come together. Life becomes beautiful when the end, the purpose, and the end, the conclusion, both come together. And at the very beginning of the Bhagavatam, the very end is conveyed to us. And who is the very end? The endless end of all jnana, the endless end of all love, Krishna himself. Therefore, Bhagavatam begins with a glorious introduction to the Swarupa, Rupa, Guna, Vibhuti, Aishwarya of Bhagavan. Janmadhyasya yataha anvayad itarataschatteshu abhigyasvarad tene brahma hridaya adikavaye muhyanti yat surayaha tejovari mridam yatha vinimayah yatra visargam vrisha bhavna svena sada nirastakuhukam satyam param dhimahi. Satyam param dhimahi. There is a call right at the beginning to start meditating on that Satya, that Param. Dhamna svena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi. The Swarupa, Rupa, Vibha, Guna, Aishwarya, all are covered in this very first shloka, Pratama shloka. Janmadi asya yataha. Bhagavan is the Sakala Karana, Adi Karana, Akhila Karana, Jagat Karana, Nishkarana, the primary cause of this entire universe. Janmadi asya yataha. He is anvayad. He is not only the cause, he is also the upadhana karana. Itaratastarcheshu. He is not only the upadhana karana, he is also the nimitta karana. He is a trivida karana. If you take a clay pot, it requires upadhana, which is clay. It requires a potter who is a nimitta. It requires various instruments. So we can clearly understand there are three causes for a clay pot to come into existence. What are the three causes? Upadhana, nimitta, sahakari for this entire universe. The answer is the same. All three causes rolled into one is Bhagavan himself, and he is itaratastarteshu abhigyasvarad, itarataha artheshu, which means to be the creator himself, he is endowed with all kalyana gunas. Sarvajnatva, Sarvashaktitva, Sarveshwaratva, Satyakamatva, Satyasankalpatva, Sarva Abhavasakatva, Sarva Prakaratva. All kinds of Kalyana Gunas that are required for him to be the creator. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Muhyanti Yat Surayaha. He is the one who created Brahma, Chaturmukha Brahma, for the secondary creation to happen. And he is the one who is beyond the comprehension of even the rishis. Yatra visargam vrisha. He is the one who induces Prakriti to start creation, and he is the one who is beyond all blemishes. Dhamna Svena Sada Nirastakodakam Satyam Param. He is distinct and different from all the Bhagavad Jivas. He is distinct and different from all the Mukta Jivas. He is distinct and different from all the Nitya Jivas. He is the Paramatma. He is the Purushottama. He is Narayana. He is the one. He is the one to be meditated. And then goes on to sing the glories of Bhagavatam itself. Dharma projita kaitavaha atra paramo nirmatsaranam satam. The glory of Srimad Bhagavatam is it completely rejects dharma projita kaitavaha, rejects the deceptive dharma. What is deceptive dharma? The way of life where bodily pleasures become summum bonum of life. That is called deceptive dharma. In a way it is cheating. Why it cheats? When we get from life less than what we should actually be getting, then it is cheating. In the process of chasing worldly pleasures, we end up getting from life less than what we actually deserve. And therefore Bhagavatam teaches us. And how does Bhagavatam teach us this important dharma? Through the Gopikas of Vraja, who teach us what is the supreme dharma by abandoning everything else. When Krishna called out Sarvadharman Parityajya, Arjuna possibly did not understand it in its all its profundity. But if there is one who understood it, it was the Gopikas of Vraja. Therefore, the shloka, the Charama shloka was actually meant for what the Gopikas did. And therefore, Dharma Projita Kaitavaha, rejecting completely all dharmas that are misaligned with the dharma of the Atman. The Atma dharma is to be in servitude, to serve, Seshatva, to serve Bhagavan all the time, lovingly serve him. And therefore Bhagavatam teaches us what the supreme dharma is. Paramaha nirmatsaranam satam vedhyam. Bhagavatam teaches how one should not practice a way of life where one can become envious. Materialistic way of life promotes competition, promotes comparison, promotes envy. The Gopikas of Vraja teach us how we realize that there is only one enjoyer. We all think life is to be enjoyed, but we don't realize who is the supreme enjoyer. Bhoktaram yajnatapasa sarvaloka maheshwaram. Krishna declares there is only one enjoyer, the supreme enjoyer. And the Gopikas of Vraja teach us that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. And if as long as we don't realize this, as long as we think we too are part of that enjoyment, even if we think we are part of that enjoyment, we are envious of Krishna. And therefore, Paramaha Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam. To be non-envious of Krishna means to realize He and He alone is the supreme enjoyer. Vastavam Atravastu Shivadam Tapatrayom Moolanam. The Bhagavata is like a mirror, a clean mirror which shows the reflection of Krishna's Divyamangala Vigraha, the supreme reality. Vastavam Atravastu, the Satyasya Satya, the supreme reality that confers all kinds of auspiciousness. And that beautiful, enchanting form of Krishna uproots the threefold miseries of life. Srimad Bhagavata Mahamunikate Kimvaparai Ishvaraha. The supreme, this Bhagavata Mahapurana was given by none other than Vyasa himself. What is need for any other scripture? Kimvaparai Ishvaraha Sadyaha Kriti Avarudhyate Kritibihi Shushro Vistakshanat. Bhagavan not only creates us, but he also enters each and every entity and he resides in our hearts. The Paramatma Sarvasya Chaham Kriti Sannivishtaha. Now, it is the glory of Bhagavatam is as we study Bhagavatam, Ishvara Sadyaha Kriti Avarudhyate. Bhagavan who is established in our heart, Kritibihi Shushro Vistakshanat. As soon as we study the Bhagavatam with all attention, listen to it, immediately it seems Bhagavan is established in our heart, he is invoked then and there. We are able to connect with Krishna instantaneously. We need to understand pleasure and pain are like the ringtones of life. We must stop hearing the ringtone and start picking the phone. Ringtones may be pleasantly, ringtones may be unpleasant, but if we are just caught up with appreciating a ringtone just because it is very nice, or if we start complaining that a ringtone is bad and in that process forget to pick up the phone, then we are missing out the opportunity of getting an important message. Krishna residing in our hearts is constantly calling us. Tring, 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 the line is constantly, he's already calling. But then we are caught with the ringtones of the world, the pleasures and the pain, and in that process, we forget to lift the phone. Krishna is waiting to talk to us, connect with us. All that we need to do is just lift the phone, and then we have the hotline straight to Vaikuntha through the Paramatma. And therefore, by studying the Bhagavatam, Ishvaraha Sari Hriya Avarudhyate Kritibihi Chushro Vistakshanat. By listening to Bhagavatam, we invoke Krishna within us. He is with us and within us. And Bhagavatam is the only way that we stay connected with Krishna. And then the Rishis of Naimisharanyam, led by Shaunaka, ask a very important question. This is the fundamental question of any Shastra and the leading question of Srimad Bhagavatam. Tatra tatranja bhavata yat vinishchitam pumsa ekanta shreyaha tanna samshitu arhasi. Every Shastra, every text in our Shastras asks this question: what is my dharma? Arjuna asks Krishna, what is my dharma? Ramayana asks the same question, what is the duty? Mahabharata, what is the dharma? Every Purana addresses the same question. All parts of our Shastras have the same question, what is our dharma? And therefore the sages of Naimisharanyam are asking the same question. What is that which is Shreyaha? What is Shreyakara? What is most auspicious? What is the ultimate? What is the supreme dharma? And Suta Pouranika gives a brilliant answer to this question. An answer that has to be forever etched in our minds. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yatho bhakti radhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yatatma suprasidati. Bhakti to Krishna is our supreme dharma, he answers. And what kind of bhakti? He qualifies bhakti with two important adjectives. Ahaituki apratihata. Not just ordinary bhakti. Bhakti which is ahaituki. Hetu means cause. Causeless bhakti. Bhakti to Krishna for the sake of Krishna. Not for the sake of something that Krishna can provide us. It has to be causeless. And it also has to be ceaseless. Apratihata. Ceaseless. Constant remembrance of Krishna. Staying connected with Him all the time. Causeless, ceaseless. Bhakti is our supreme dharma, he answers. Now, the question that Bhagavatam answers is little bit more deeper when it comes to what is my dharma. Gita answers what is our dharma. Mahabharata answers what is our dharma. But specifically in Bhagavatam, thanks to Parikshit, we also get to go a little bit deeper into the question. What is the dharma in my life? What is my dharma at the time of death? Drilling down the question as to what is the dharma in my life, it also becomes important to know what is the dharma at the time of my death. Now, Krishna beautifully answers in the Gita. The dharma at the time of the death has to be the same as the dharma while one is alive. There cannot be two different dharmas. Only when I practice a dharma during my life and living, that can become my dharma at the time of my death. Therefore, dharma during my life and living is the same as dharma at the time of death, which is simply put, remembrance. Remembrance of Krishna. If we look at practicing dharma, to practice dharma while we lead our lives, we must also navigate samsara. Navigating samsara means navigating grief. So what is the cause of this grief? The cause of this grief is very simple. The cause of this grief is forgetfulness. Forgetfulness of Krishna. forgetfulness of our relationship with our Krishna. So only when we address this root cause of samsara, we can actually navigate samsara effortlessly. And when we talk of grief, there are two kinds of grief. What is grief? Grief in this world arises because of two things: separation and fear of separation. These are the two causes of any grief. Separation from our loved ones, separation from our cherished possessions, separation from all our accomplishments, separation from all our achievements, and fear of separation. Everything that fear of losing everything that we hold dear, knowing that nothing lasts forever. Now this is the worldly grief. But Bhagavatam teaches us that as we navigate grief in the samsara, we must all upgrade ourselves to another grief. You may wonder, what is this upgradation in grief? As I said, there are two kinds of griefs. The first grief is what comes very naturally to us, comes out of separation and fear. Upgrading ourselves to the second grief is, this grief is also due to separation. But this grief is not due to separation from the world. This grief is due to separation from the world maker, separation from Krishna. This is what the Gopikas of Vraja teach. The grief that is sublime in nature. The grief that transmutes and transforms even pain to sweetness. What we learn from the Gopikas of Vraja is that deeply embedded in their Krishna Trishna, even their separateness from Krishna is actually sweet. There is sweetness, there is a rasa, even in that separateness. And it is the experience of this grief that becomes transformational, that becomes fundamental and prerequisite for all mumukshus. So therefore, in many ways, Bhagavatam helps us to graduate from one kind of grief to another kind of grief, where we start to realize that we cannot stay separated from Krishna. We are in fear. We are in a different kind of fear. Earlier, we were in fear in samsara, but now the fear is fear of samsara. The nature of fear changes. Separation and fear remain, but they take different flavors. And the Gopikas of Vraja teach us this very important lesson. But we don't need to wait until the 10th canto to experience this bliss of separation, the sweetness of separation for Krishna, because right in Canto 1, we can taste this nectarine sweetness thanks to the illustrious Kunti. Bhagavatam begins with a scintillating stuti, a stuti that is a supreme example for how our prayers should be. Celebrated as Kunti Stuti, this also is a time where the hero gets introduced. Hero introduction is very, very important. We all know that, those of us who are used to, especially more than Bollywood, Hollywood and Tollywood, hero introduction is very, very important. In Gita, we see how hero introduction happens. As Parthasarathi, Krishna comes into Kurukshetra, the war, and there also we see a brilliant introduction. But here, this is even more dramatic. More dramatic because it has all elements needed for an ideal hero introduction. Ashwatthama has attacked the Garbha of, Parikshit is still unborn. He is in Uttara's Garbha. Now he is the last amongst in the lineage of Pandavas. Ashwatthama has attacked the Garbha of Uttara with Brahmastra, the unassailable Brahmastra. Everyone is alarmed. Kunti Devi is alarmed. Uttara is alarmed. And the hero of all heroes, the supreme hero, the Bhakta Vatsala, the Bhritya Vatsala, once again, through his Adhimanusha Cheshtitas, The Atimanusha Cheshtitas in Bhagavatam begins right here. Atimanusha Sheela Vritta Veshehi, Ativrittamara Vikrama Pratapaihi, Atilangita Sarvaloka Samyam, Varaye Vaishnava Vaibhava Avatar. The Atimanusha Cheshtita of Krishna entering the womb of Uttara, he protects Parikshit there in the womb. And everybody is in a state of awe. Not Kunti Devi. Kunti is in pain of separation. She knows everybody is celebrating, but she alone knows it is time for Krishna to leave. Kunti Devi is known to have endured possibly the greatest of hardships that any human could have ever imagined. But then to Kunti, all her pains put together is nothing compared to the pain of separation from Krishna. Krishna is about to leave. Kunti Devi knows. Krishna sets foot in his chariot, and then as Krishna was standing on the chariot, so this again is the difference there. There, Arjuna was standing on the chariot and Krishna was there as Sarathi sitting facing him. Here, Kunti Devi rushes, and as Krishna was standing on the chariot, Kunti Devi looks at Krishna. Namasye Purusham Tvadyam Ishwaram Pratater Param Alaksham Sarvabhutanam Antarbahyavistitam. Hey Krishna, I know that time has come for you to leave, but somehow I am unable to bear this separation. This pain of separation is unbearable. Namasye Purusham Tvadyam. Hey Krishna, you are Purushottama. I recognize who you are. You are the Paramapurusha. You are the Paramatma. You are the Parabrahman. Ishwaram Pratater Param. Alaksham Sarvabhutanam Antarbahir Avastitam. Alaksham Sarvabhutanam Antarbahir. You exist within and outside, but you are not seen by many. Krishna with a smile. Hey Kunti, I am here. Everybody is able to see me. Why do you say nobody can see me? Hey Krishna, people are still seeing you as another cowherd boy without recognizing that Paramapurusha, that Purushottama has descended here. How many people have really recognized who you are? They see you, yet they don't see you, hey Krishna. And how blessed I am that I am able to see you as the Paramapurusha. Kunti's stuti is so glorious that we can spend the next 7 days diving deep into Kunti's stuti. But that is not the purpose of the Saptaha. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Vasudeva was blessed, Devaki was blessed, Nanda and Yashoda were blessed. Therefore, Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nandagopa Kumaraya, all they are blessed, but Kunti knows who are the most blessed. Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hey Govinda, Gaha Vindat. Gaha here stands for senses. The one who gives supreme joy to the senses, eyes of Gopikas. The one who gives joy to the senses of Gopikas is Govinda. Bhaktapaya Bhujanga Garudamanihi, Trailokya Rakshamanihi, Gopi Lochana Chatakam Budamanihi, Saundarya Mudramanihi, Yahakantamani Rukmini, Garakuchat Bandvaika Bhushamanihi, Shreyo Deva Shikhamanihi, Dishutuno Gopala Chudamanihi. Hey Gopala, hey Govinda, Namo Namaha, Namo Namaha, Namah Pankaja Namaya, Namah Pankaja Maline, Namah Pankaja Netrai, Namaste Pankajangre. Hey Krishna, you are leaving us, but in the process of leaving, you are also giving me that strength. The prayers of Kunti are so very important to us. They contain life lessons as to how we can navigate our lives so very effortlessly, like Kunti Devi. Kunti Devi looks at Krishna and says, Vishan Mahatme Purushada Darshana Asat Sabhaya Manavasa Krichataha Mrde Mrde Aneka Maharatastrataha Drauni Astratas Chasma Hare Havirakshitaha. Hey Krishna, amidst all the adversities that I faced in my life, you have always been there, hey Krishna. So Kunti Devi recognizes Krishna amidst all our adversities. Sometimes Krishna directly protected, sometimes Krishna indirectly protected. What is important for us to understand? Krishna's invisible hand in everything that happens. He protects us visibly, he protects us invisibly. But one thing you must understand, his protection is always invincible, which Kunti Devi understands. Vishan Mahagne, you protected me from despicable act of Duryodhana in poisoning the Pandavas. Mahagne, you protected us when we escaped from the Lakshagraha. Purushada Darshana, you protected us when we were attacked by the cannibals in the forest. Asatsabhaya, you protected Draupadi when Draupadi was humiliated, when Draupadi was facing the utmost crisis of her life, when one who was dishonored rose with all the honor. Hey Govinda, hey Vasudeva, when she called out to you, you protected Draupadi and all of us. Asatsabhaya, Vanavasa Krichrata, you were there with us, protecting us every move of ours during the Vanavasa. Udhe Aneka Maharataskrataha. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, you are the one who protected all the Pandavas. You are the one who gave victory to the Pandavas, victory to Arjuna. Drauni Astratas Chasma, Arehi, Abhirakshitaha. Even now, you are the one to protect Uttara and her womb from the Brahmastra. How can we ever forget the protection that you give us? Therefore, hey Krishna, I am only asking you one thing before you leave. Krishna says, hey Kunti, what is the greatest reward that you would want me to give you? Kunti has a scarily courageous prayer here. Not just courageous prayer, scarily courageous. It is so very daunting for us to face problems in life, adversities in life. But Kunti Devi teaches not only face adversities, but to see more adversities. Vipadas santu tassasvat tatra jagat guru bhavatah darshanam yasyat apunar bhavadarshanam. Hey Krishna, all that I ask you is to keep giving me more and more calamities, keep giving me, let more and more adversities keep coming to me. Krishna says, why? Because that is the only way. Every adversity is a stimulus to remember you. So Kunti Devi teaches a very important lesson here. Adversity is an impetus, not to test Krishna. For us, adversity means to test Krishna. Krishna, are you doing your job well or not? But Kunti Devi, every adversity is not just to test Krishna, it is to taste Krishna. Every adversity, every pain becomes an opportunity. Kunti Devi recognizes that the shelter of Krishna is far more valuable than freedom from all adversities. Therefore she says, give me more and more pain, because I know that pain is a pointer and pain is a protector. Pain is also a pointer. Because looking at the samsara, I know that samsara is only filled with adversities. If there is only one city where there is no adversity, that is only a city of Vaikuntha. And therefore, every pain, every adversity, therefore, is a pointer to that place where there is no pain whatsoever. And therefore, hey Bhagavan, I only ask you of one thing, keep giving me more adversities. I know that I cannot stop adversities, I cannot stop calamities, but then I know one thing, I have mastered the art of delegating how to face this, and therefore you will take care. And whenever there is a pain, I know that you are with me, protecting me. Give me more, give me more. This is such a scarily courageous prayer of Kunti that right at the beginning, undergoing that separation from Krishna, Kunti Devi reflects the mindset of the Gopikas, where they discover sweetness in that separation from Krishna. If Kunti Devi discovers that sweetness in separation from Krishna, we see similar bhava also demonstrated by another illustrious bhakta. Again, another glorious stuti right here in the first canto, celebrated as the very nucleus of Srimad Bhagavatam. Because if Srimad Bhagavatam answers the question, what is the dharma of one's dharma at the time of death? The straight answer to that is given by none other than the one who knows all the dharmas. Eshame sarvadharmana dharmaha adhikatamo mataha yadbhaktya pundarikaksham stavairacche narasada. He said, yadbhaktya pundarikaksham stavairacche narasada. The key here is yadbhaktya pundarikaksham stavairacche. Keep worshipping Pundarikaksha is the dharma. Stavairacche narasada. Sada has to be underlined. If you miss Sada, then you may say, maybe one time a day, maybe it's fine. Worshipping Krishna one time a day, maybe if I'm very busy, one time in a week. Not 3 times a day, not 5 times a day. Savair Archair Naras Sada. And when that happens, Bhishma teaches that at the time of death, that dharma becomes the dharma. And therefore, in the process of teaching dharma, then Suta Pouranika narrates what Shukha talked about to Parikshit in the form of what is celebrated as Bhishma Stuti. Itimati Rupakalpita Vitrishna Bhagavati Saptaham Vibhumi Swasukam Upakate Kvachit Vihattum Prakriti Mupe Yushihattaha Pravaha. Krishna, you have no reason to actually descend. You are Satya Sankalpa. All your Sankalpa is all fulfilled. You are Satya Kama. In spite of all this, you keep descending, taking several avatars. Swasukham upakate kvachit vihattum prakriti upe yat prabha prabhavaha. Using Prakriti, your own Shakti, you divine Sankalpa Shakti, you keep taking avatars for only one reason, to come and be amidst your bhaktas. So you cannot be away from them, and therefore all your avatars, say Krishna, are only for one purpose, for you to spend time with us. And therefore, let me meditate on you just before I depart. So, the Uttarayana Punyakala is approaching. Bhishma is preparing himself. Therefore, that Mahatma who has led his life only giving. Now, Bhishma, if there is one word that we can use as a synonym for Bhishma, is giving. Bhishma did not know anything else other than giving. He gave everything that he's got, and even at the time of death, he gave everything that he's got, his wisdom, to Bhishma Stuti. He says, Iti mati rupakalpita, let me now invest my thinking, my feeling, my emotions, my will, everything that I have, meditating. Bhagavati Saptaham Vibhumi. Who is that Saptaham Pungava? Who is that Krishna? Who is standing right in front of him? And Bhishma vividly presents a glorious vision of Krishna. Tribhuvara Kamanam Tamala Varinam Ravikara Gaura Varambaram Dadani Vapuralaka Pulavrata Nanabjam Vijaya Sake Ratirastube Anamadhya. That Vidya Mangala Vigraha, Tribhuvara He Bhuvara Sundara, the one who has the hue of a darkish blue cloud, rain-bearing cloud, who is there, who is Vijaya Shaka, who is standing right in front of me. All that I want, all that Bhishma wanted was to have Krishna's glorious vision, and at the time of his departure, Krishna himself walked all the way, and to him giving him his divine darshana. And what kind of a darshana? He is now recounting all the experiences of various forms of Krishna, and what comes to his mind on this battlefield of Kurukshetra? Yuditoragarajo vidumra vishmak kachalulita shamavari alankritasye mama nishita sharai vibhidyamana tvachivilashat kavachestu Krishna atma. Hey Krishna, even the beads of sweat are alankara on your face. As you stand under the sun in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, with all your hair flowing, dusty hair, how beautiful you look. Your dusty hair is because Bhuma Devi also wanted to decorate you. She also needed an opportunity, therefore she spread the dust, and all the dust were also alankaras on your face. But then, what kind of alankara you further chose? I threw all kinds of arrows at you, hey Krishna. How compassionate are you? You are Bhakta Vatsala, you are Bhritya Vatsala. Every arrow that I shot at you, you took the arrow and you made it into your own abharana, and I now see your face filled with arrow marks, blood oozing out. But then that is the way of you showing your compassion to me. Hey Krishna, what kind of a vision is this? And thank you for blessing me with such a glorious vision. Obviously, while Bhishma is recounting and he is visualizing Krishna and all the Krishna Cheshtitas, he has to visualize that crown jewel of all the Krishna Cheshtitas. And therefore, right here, right in the first skanda of Srimad Bhagavatam, through Bhishma, we get a glimpse of Rasa Panchadhyaya. Lalita Gati Vilasa Valguhasa Pranaya Nirikshana Kalpitorumanaha Kritamanu Kritavatya Unmadandaha Prakatimagan Kilayasya Gopavatvaha. Bhishma is now visualizing the glorious Rasa Krida. Hey Bhagavan, let me be immersed in that very moment when you chose that divine communion with all the Gopikas enchanted by your divine form, your divine smile. Lalita Gadi Vilasa Valguhasa. Pranaya Nirikshana Kalpitorumanaha. They were all so much attracted, and when you suddenly disappeared, all of them went mad. Bhishma says, Kritamanu Kritavatya Udmadandaha. Krishna was suddenly missing. The Gopikas decided to enact the Krishna Cheshtitas. The Gopikas, one Gopika became the Kaliya, another Gopika became Krishna, dancing on the Kaliya. They became cows, cow herds, Bakasura, Vanasura, all kinds of asuras. They were enacting, and as they were enacting, they also became very mad. The Gopikas, the madness of Gopikas, they are mad, madly absorbed in devotion. That is their madness. Madly absorbed, and Prakriti Magan Kilayasya Gopakanya. That mad, can you please grant me that madness? Bhishma is asking. Gopikas are mad. We are also mad. But our madness is different to Gopika's madness. We are mad. Our madness before marriage and after marriage, they are two different. When we are in love, we are mad for each other. After marriage, we are mad at each other. Krishna. But Gopikas are madly in love with Krishna all the time. And Bhishma is saying, grant me that madness. May I also become a Gopika right before I depart, so that I can experience you like a Gopika. Bhishma and the Gopikas are no different. They may look very, very different physically, but their mood of Krishna, the Krishna Bhava, their Krishna Trishna, the way they enjoy, they relish Krishna Rasa is one and the same. Both of them are firmly committed to Krishna Bhakti. Both of them teach us a very important lesson. True love for Krishna. True love for Krishna is seen in two different ways. True love for Krishna is seen in two different ways. What we give to Krishna and what we give up for Krishna. Both are important. What we give to Krishna and what we give up for Krishna. Let us see what Bhishma and Gopikas did. Both of them, Krishna could have given them different roles. Krishna could have given Gopikas the role of obedient household ladies. Gopikas could have been very obedient, doing only the household chores, doing Samanya Dharma. But he gave them roles totally opposite to that of people who are engaged only in doing their household chores. In that process, the Gopikas risked to be disrespected by people around, to be misunderstood by people around. Both the Gopikas and Bhishmacharya are misunderstood by people at large, but they did not care for what people thought about them. Both of them gave everything to Krishna. More importantly, the Gopikas gave their body, their senses, their mind, their intelligence. More importantly, they also gave up all their Samanya Dharma. They gave up all their duties that are required for an ordinary samsari Bhattajiva. And Bhishma too gave up the need to be respected, the need to stand along with the Pandavas and to be seen as someone who would support the Pandavas. He did not mind people disrespecting him, people blaming him, people talking badly about him. Therefore, through Bhishma and through Gopikas, we learn a very important lesson. It is important both in our love for Krishna, what we give him is as equally important as what we give up for him. And both Bhishma and the Gopikas teach us this very important lesson. With the first skanda of Srimad Bhagavatam, the foundation of Krishna Rasa is very beautifully laid out. That leads to the topics of Sarga and Visarga in the second skanda of Srimad Bhagavatam. There, Sukha makes a distinction between grahasthas and grihamedhis when he talks about dharma in life. Again, continuing the discussion on what is dharma, fulfillment of one's desires is also part of dharma. And it is here that Shuka makes a distinction between two classes of beings, he says. There are grihasthas who carry out grihasthashrama dharma, household duties, who do carry out duties which are materialistic in nature, and they are grihamedhis, he says. In the case of grihamedhis, they are only listening to their desires, all their worldly desires. In the case of grihasthas, apart from doing their material duties, they also cultivate, they also make an effort to listen to their deepest desires. Fulfillment of desires is important only when we recognize the deepest desire in us. And when we cut through the layers of desires that we have, there is one that is there deep within us, that desire for everlasting love, that desire for existing forever. If we need to fulfill that desire, then grihasthashrama dharma transforms, translates, get a new meaning. And therefore, in that context, Shuka explains the importance of various sadhanas that are available to be performed. And in that process, he also explains sadhanas like Ashtanga Yoga, sadhanas like Jnana Marga, sadhanas like Karma Marga. And he also teaches the various practices of dhyana, various kinds of meditation and different kinds of ashraya, the object of meditation. And finally, he talks about the significance of bhakti in Canto 2. And amidst this conversation, Parikshit, like being a very good student, keeps asking all the right questions. And therefore, Parikshit has 6 very important questions to deal with both Sarga and Visarga. And in the process of answering these 6 questions of Parikshit, Shuka starts his exposition with a brilliant prayer, which is celebrated as Shuka Stuti. Yat Kirtanam, Yat Smaranam, Yadikshanam, Yat Vandanam, Yat Shravanam, Yadarkhanam, Lokasya Satyaha, Vidunoti Kalmasham, Tasmai Shvadrasravase Namo Navaha, Tasmai Shvadrasravase Namo Navaha, Tapasvino, Danavina, Parasvino, Manasvino, Mantravida, Sumangalaha, Kshemam Navindati Vinaya Darpanam, Tasmai Shvadrasravase Namo Navaha, Shriyapati, Yagyapati, Prajapati, Diyampati, Lokapati, Dharapati, Patirgatis Chandaka Vrishtis Satmatam, Pasirtam Me Bhagavan, Satam Patihi. After his scintillating prayers, Shuka then looks at the 6 questions. Very interesting questions that Parikshit asked. Yat Rupam, Yat Adishtam, Yat Srishtam, Yatashrishtam, Yat Samstam, Yat Param, Yat Cha. What is that which manifests this universe? What is the support Adhisthana of this universe? On what it is based? Yatashrishtam, how is it created? Yat Samstam, how is it maintained? Yat Param, how is it controlled? Yat Cha, what is it composed of? Answering all these questions, Shuka has a one-word answer. Narayana. Narayana Paraveda Deva Narayana Gajaha Narayana Paraloka Narayana Paramakaha Narayana Parayoga Narayana Param Tapaha Narayana Paramjnanam Narayana Param Gatihi. So he talks about how Bhagavan is the one who causes, who protects, sustains, and who dissolves, and who is the Adhara. He is the Sarvaseshi, he is the Sarvaniyanta, he is the Sarvadhara, and he is the one who orchestrates everything in this universe. And therefore, knowing further about orchestration through Visarga, how the secondary creation happens, Parikshit has lot more questions. He asks in total 21 questions, and in the process of answering the questions, Shuka, he recounts 2 important samvadas, Brahma Bhagavat's samvada and Vidura Maitreya samvada. The samvada between Brahma and Bhagavan himself, and the samvada between Vidura and Maitreya. The samvada between Bhagavan and Brahma answers some of the most fundamental philosophical questions. This part of Bhagavatam, in the second skanda, is highly philosophical in nature, where Shuka teaches Parikshit profound philosophy on what is the nature of ultimate truth. When it comes to the philosophical part of Bhagavatam, this part of Bhagavatam is celebrated as the very nucleus of Bhagavatam, the very core of Bhagavatam, philosophical essence of Bhagavatam, which is celebrated as Chatushloki Bhagavatam. Chatushloki means 4 shlokas. Through 4 shlokas, the entire philosophical essence of Bhagavatam is given by Shuka to Parikshit. Jnanam paramagukhyam me yat vijnana samanvitam sarahasyam tadagam angam cha grahana gaditam maya. Hey Parikshit, I am going to give you 4 important messages, philosophical messages, which capture the very essence of what is to be known for everyone in samsara. Jnanam paramaguhyam me, the most secret jnana. Yet vijnana, second is vijnana. Sa rahasya, the third is rahasya. Tadangam, the fourth is the anga. Grahana gaditam maya, I am going to grant this to you. Therefore, get set to listen to this very carefully. All of you have been listening very carefully so far. It's not very easy. And Shuka rightfully says, now comes the philosophical part. So put your seat belts on and be a little bit more attentive so that the philosophical essence of Bhagavatam can be understood. So Shuka says, Parikshit, let me now, Yavanaham yata bhavaha yat rupa guna karmakaha tataiva tattva vijnanam astute madanugrahad. I am now going to grant you now that teachings which cover Bhagavan's Rupa, Swarupa, Guna, Vibhuti, Aishwarya. I am going to give you Tattva Jnana. Tattva Jnanat Moksha Labhat. So that Tattva Jnana, which is a prerequisite for all mukshus. So we will conclude today with the Chatushloki Bhagavata, the 4 shlokas of the Chatushloki. The first shloka of Chatushloki, Jnanam Ahamevasam Nanyad Yad Sadasat Param Paschadaham Ede Tacha Yovasishyeta Sosmyaham. This first shloka of Chatushloki Bhagavata deals with Jnana, knowledge of Tattva. Tattva means truth, reality. So, in a very, very simple but very profound shloka, Shuka condenses the whole philosophical truth, the nature of reality. And he says, Ahamevasam agre. He said, the Shruti, the Vedas declare, Eko havai Narayana asi. Nothing existed before creation. He alone, Eko havai Narayana asi. The Sakala Jagat Karana, the Akhila Karana, the Adbhuta Karana, he existed alone. He is the cause of all causes. He is the source of all sources. Ahamevasam agre. He alone existed before creation. Nanyad yad sadasat param. That Parabrahman, Narayana, is beyond to both Sat and Asat. Sat is the cause, Asat is effect. Everything that is created is a product of causes and effects. Everything in this creation, there are multiple causes, there are multiple effects. Every effect has a cause. And we can trace all the causes and all the effects together eventually to the cause of all causes. The Sakala Jagat Karana, the Adi Karana, is also Nish Karana. He is causeless. So therefore, he is beyond all the causes. He is beyond all the causes. Bhagavan, after creation, also decides to enter. Sokamayata mahusyam prajayeti satapotapyata satapastatva idagum sashtva. He creates and then he enters. He permeates. Therefore, he is also embedded in this creation. In a way, he is the cause, he is the effect. But he is also beyond the cause and the effect. He is immanent, he is transcendent at the same time. Therefore, ahamevasavevagre nanyad yat sadasat param. That cause of all causes is that supreme Parabrahman, that Narayana, who is beyond, superior to both Sat and Asat. And Paschat Aham Yade Tacha. Even after creation, he alone exists. Before creation, he alone existed. After creation, he alone exists. You may immediately ask, we little bit understand he alone exists before creation, but creation has happened. We can see all this diverse names and forms. There is so much variety. There is so many names, so many forms here. How can we say he alone exists? He alone exists because everything that exists are his sharira. He is the shariri. He is the unifying substratum. Therefore, there is an underlying unity to this diversity. So the answer to the question, is this reality that we see, is it one? The Shastras say, yes. Is the reality many? Shastras say, of course. Because the Shastras try to confuse us all the time. It is one, answer is yes. It is many, of course yes. It is one and many. It is both at the same time. How can we understand this? The one becomes many by being the Antaratma, the Shariri of the many. Bhagavan, the cause, is embedded in the effect. He is the Shariri of this universe who is the Sharira. So therefore, the many exist as many, not separated from him. Nothing exists outside of him. Nothing exists without him. Nothing exists in separation from him. Everything is interconnected, always connected with him. Therefore, to the answer, does he alone exist? He alone exists together with the Sharira. And there is no other Satya other than this. He is Satyasya Satya. He is the creator who is also the Sarvaseshi, and entire universe is his Sesha. Paschat Aham Yade Tacha Yaha Avasishyeta Sosmyaham. Therefore, after creation he alone exists, and then creation is over, then dissolution happens, then what? He alone exists. He alone, he can. So therefore, Srishti is the one becoming many. Pralaya is the many, once again going back one. Everything that is there in between still exists in a subtle form. At the time of Pralaya, everything is in a subtle form together with the Parabrahman. At the time of Srishti, what is subtle becomes gross. And at the time of Pralaya, what is gross once again becomes subtle. Everything exists eternally all the time. What we call destruction is only a change of form, change of name. It is cycle. The subtle becomes gross, gross becomes subtle, and underlying this, the substratum, the Sarvaseshi, the Sarvaniyanta, the Sarvakarana, the Parabrahman, Narayana, Krishna, he is one and the same. Eko Havai Narayana Asid. So therefore, the first shloka of Chatushloki Bhagavatam teaches us that supreme jnana, tattva jnana. Ahamevasavevagre nanyad yat sadasat param. Paschat aham yade tacha yaha avasishyeta sosmyaham. The second shloka of Chatushloki Bhagavatam. Vijnana. The first is jnana, second is vijnana. Vijnana is jnana which is discriminatory in nature. We've got the jnana of who is that Parabrahman is, who is that Paramapurusha is. Vijnana is that jnana which teaches us how he is distinct and different from everything else. So very different. We wonder how these two very different entities, two different tattvas, always are together all the time. The Atma, which is so very distinct and different, the Atma is completely different to Prakriti Tattva, Achit Tattva, but is always together with it as long as the Atma continues its transmigration in the samsaric life. Now Krishna here, Shuka says, Atma Tattva and Prakriti Tattva are like light and darkness, yet they are bonded by Bhagavan's Achintya Maya Shakti. They are bonded together, and in that process, the Atma becomes, the Chit becomes Achit like. It starts to identify itself with the body, and the two tattvas which are like light and darkness, so very distinct and different, they become together bonded, and the Ishvara, Bhagavan, is distinct and different from these two tattvas. So Vijnana is how he is different from the other two tattvas. The third shloka and Chatushloki is the shloka of Rahasya Jnana. Rahasya. Yata Mahanti Bhutani Bhuteshu Chavacheshu no Pravishtani Apravishtani Tatateshu Tatpeshvaham. This is the Rahasya. Why it is called Rahasya? It is Rahasya because it is not easily understood. It remains a secret until we make an effort to unravel the secret. Here, Shuka gives a beautiful example. So we can only understand the tattva, the philosophical knowledge, when we take some examples with which we can relate. So Shuka here uses an example, an analogy, which we can all easily relate to. When we say Bhagavan is present in everything, but he is also not present in everything, then we get confused. So in order for us, like Krishna says, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadabhyaktamurtina matstani sarvabhutani. He says, hey Krishna, understand that I am in everything, but also understand that I am not in everything. Arjuna says, Krishna, when will you stop talking in riddles? Here, Shuka therefore clarifies, giving an example. He says, Yata mahanti bhutani bhuteshu chavacheshvano pravishtani apravishtani. All the panchabhutas that we know of, they are present in every entity that we see. Every entity is a product of Prakriti, of the Panchabhutas. So therefore the Panchabhutas pervade and permeate every physical entity that we see. At the same time, they are also outside of this. Just because one entity is made up of Panchabhutas, the Panchabhutas are not contained in this entity. If this watch is made up of the Panchabhutas, they pervade and permeate this, they are also pervade and permeate everywhere else. Bhumi, Akasha, Vayu, Apaha, Agni, everything, all the Panchabhutas are present in every conceivable product in this creation. Just like how these Panchabhutas, Pravishtani, Apravishtani, they are part of, they are immanent, they are transcendent. How clay is immanent in a clay pot. Clay is also transcended a clay pot. Clay is also outside. It's not just confined to a pot. Giving this example, Shuka says, Parikshit, understand that Bhagavan is also Pravishtani, Apravishtani. That is the Rahasya that we need to understand. The Narayana Nama beautifully explains to us this Rahasya. Naraha Ayanam Yasya Saha Narayanaha. Naranam Ayanam Yaha Saha Narayanaha. So this is the beauty of the Narayana Nama. Naraha Ayanam Saha Narayanaha. Bhagavan is the one in which everything resides. He is Narayana. This is Antarvyapti. Everything resides in him, which means he pervades and permeates everything. He is Narayana. Also, Naranam Ayanam Yaha Saha Narayanaha. The abode of everything is also Narayana, which means he is not only residing, not only everything resides in him, he also resides in everything, and he is transcendent. Immanence and transcendence at the same time. He is outside, he is inside. He is inside us as Paramatma. He is outside, pervading this entire universe and beyond. And therefore, here that Rahasya that Shuka teaches Parikshit on the Parama Rahasya, understand the immanence and the transcendence of Bhagavan. The fourth and the concluding part of Chatushloki Bhagavata, Tadangam. What is tadanga? Etavadeva jignasya tattva jignyasunatmanaha anvaya vyatirekabhya yasya sarvatra sarvada. Shuka here makes a conclusion. It's beautifully also happens to be conclusion for the day. Etavadeva jignasam tattva jignyasunatmanaha. One who is inquisitive to know Bhagavan, one who has the jignasu, one who is a jignasu, wants to know more, know about more and know more Krishna, keeps inquiring. Shuka says he only needs to inquire up to this very point. Etavadeva jignasam tattva jignasunatmanaha anvaya vyatirekabhyam yasyat sarvatra sarvada. After this point, there is nothing else to be known. He says, up to this point, inquire, and once you find out that tadanga is upasana, bhakti, the means to unlock the rahasya, the means for attaining the abode, final abode, means to know the vijnana and jnana ultimately is bhakti. And how do I know that? He says, anvaya vyatirekabhya. What is anvaya and vyatireka? Anvaya means positive injunction to do. Vyatireka means don'ts. So we have the do's and the don'ts. And by both the means, the Shastras teaches that there is only one means. By both through positive injunctions and by negative injunctions. How can we understand this? How through both the do's and the don'ts, the same means is taught. Krishna in the Gita teaches, Aham vedairna tapasa nadanena chejjaya shakyeva madodrashtu drishtavarasi yammam yatha. Hey Krishna, no amount of study of Vedas, no amount of study of Vedanta, no amount of performance of yajnas, whatever you do, nothing is going to fulfill your mission in this life of you attaining me other than bhakti. And therefore, through this is the negative injunction. He says bhakti is the only way, nothing else is going to help you attain me. This is through vyatireka. Anvaya bhaktya paranyaya shakyaha ahamevam vidorjuna jnatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. Bhaktya paranyaya shakyaha ahamevam vidorjuna. There is no other means, hey Arjuna, other than bhakti. Jnatum drashtum cha tatve praveshtum cha. Knowing him, experiencing him, ultimately attaining him is only possible through bhakti. And Bhagavata is meant to teach us this supreme art and science of bhakti. Bhakti is like a creeper. We can call it bhakti lata. Later, when we discuss the Rasa Leela, we will see how this bhakti lata actually grows. There is a process for this bhakti lata to grow. But we must understand that seed for this bhakti lata is already there in our hearts. We don't need to go in search for bhakti. The seed of bhakti lata is very much in this heart. But for this bhakti lata to grow and for it to bear the fruit of Krishna prema, there is a process that is needed to be followed. The process that is shown by the Gopikas of Vraja. A process that attracts Krishna automatically, just like how when a flower is laden with honey, the bees automatically come. The flower need not call the bee to come to it. The bee will come rushing to the flower. When the bhakti lata sprouts and the fragrance of Krishna bhakti blossoms into a flower, Krishna, like a bee, would get attracted to us to drink the nectar of love. Our endeavor is to attract Krishna to us. The bee of Krishna to come and stay connected with us. Bhagavatam is a Rasa Shastra that helps us to journey on this blissful pathway of Bhakti Lata. Thanks to Parikshit Maharaj, who asked all the right questions, to Shuka Brahma, who narrated this nectarine Rasa Shastra to Parikshit. But it did not end there. That conversation was beautifully captured and beautifully presented to Shaunakadi Rishis here in Naimisharanyam by Suta Pouranika. We are seated here, the abode of the illustrious Suta. How blessed we are that we are walking on the sacred land of Naimisharanyam, which is a manifestation of Bhagavan himself. Sumati ji in the bus asked me a question. Bhagavan has manifested as Naimisharanya and we are now meant to walk on it. Isn't it an apachara? It's a brilliant question. No, I had a very simple answer to her which I wanted to share with every one of you. True, he has manifested as Naimisharanya, the sacred land, and we are meant to walk on this. Well, we have no other option. But look at it this way. When a little child starts to walk, the mother would be thrilled if the child can walk all over her body. The child would be thrilled to feel the feet of the little child on her head also, and with tender love and affection, the mother would encourage the child, not just walking, running on top of her body, giving all the support needed, nourishing her and sharing that love with her. If an ordinary mortal mother can do this, the mother of all mothers, the father of all fathers, Krishna, he would encourage us to not just walk, run, roll, do whatever we please, as long as we realize that every dust particle here has the Krishna flavor in it. Every dust particle here speaks volumes of Bhagavata Purana. Krishna Katha is stored in every atom that is out here, and we breathing the oxygen here, we are breathing Krishna here and staying here at the place where Suta shared this divine nectar to the rishis. Let us all express our gratitude by washing the divine lotus feet of the illustrious Suta with our tears, expressing our gratitude to him to give us this treasure of Bhagavata. May Suta, together with Shukha, stay with us through this journey of Bhagavata Saptaham, giving us the required strength for me to narrate whatever comes to my mind with Krishna's mercy, strength to you to listen with all Shraddha, with all attention, so that Kathayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. Let us delightfully, blissfully immerse ourselves in Krishna Katha throughout this Yatra. Jai Sri Krishna! 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 What is this? Jai Sri Krishna!
आइए आइए आते रहिए आते रहिए. थ्री टू वन चैंट चैंट करिए। चीज नहीं करना है।
सेपरेटली वो स्टे
3 2 1 गो। जोर से जोर से।
He's making sound with his mouth.
संकल्प नक्षत्र
பெருமாள் பேர்ல இருக்கா? இல்ல பெருமாள் பேர் தானா? கை தட்டுங்க.
वक्षस्थलनित्यवासरशिकां रक्षन्ति संवर्धिने पद्मालं प्रतिमाणि पल्लवयुगां पद्मासनस्था श्रियं वात्सल्यादिगुणोज्ज्वलां भगवते वन्दे जगन्मातरां